The galaxy was full of light, sound, and life. Billions of worlds, millions of species, endless trade and politics. Every star system was connected through the great networks of communication. Fleets traveled between sectors, merchants traded technology, and ambassadors argued in endless councils. The galaxy believed it was safe. It believed it was united. But in that same galaxy, there was one strange absence: humanity. For over 500 years, no one had seen or heard from the humans. Their colonies had stopped sending signals. Their trade ships had vanished. Their ambassadors no longer visited the Galactic Council. Many believed that the humans had destroyed themselves in war. Like many younger races before them, others thought they had been wiped out by disease or famine. The galaxy soon stopped wondering. To most alien historians, humanity became only a small footnote in galactic memory, a species that rose quickly and fell quietly. But the truth was far different. Humanity was not gone. Humanity had simply gone silent. Deep in the dark arms of the Milky Way, hidden behind dust clouds and dead stars, humanity had turned inward. They had left the galaxy not because of weakness, but because of betrayal. The humans had fought beside the alien powers in many wars, always standing on the front lines, always paying the heaviest price. But when peace came, they were forgotten. Their colonies were taken, their fleets dismantled, and their voices ignored. So humanity decided never to trust the galaxy again. One by one, their remaining colonies disappeared from known space. Their ships cut off communication. Even their homeworld, Earth, was hidden behind a web of artificial storms and false sensor readings. To the outside world, it looked like a dead planet. But beneath its silent skies, humanity was building something greater than ever before. The great cities of Earth no longer reached for trade or politics. They reached for creation. Entire continents became factories. The oceans boiled with industrial heat. Space itself around the Sol system shimmered with construction grids so vast that even light seemed to slow as it passed them. Humanity was no longer focused on exploration. They were focused on preparation. It began with Project Bastion, the plan to turn whole planets into self-contained war machines. Every world would become its own weapon, shield, and factory. No alien ship would ever again threaten human soil. But soon that dream grew larger. Scientists, engineers, and artificial minds worked together to create something new. Planet-constructed warships, vessels built not in orbit, but from the bones of planets themselves. Mountains were carved into armor. Oceans were drained to form plasma tunnels. Even the molten cores of worlds were used as energy sources. The first world to be transformed was Mars. Its red deserts became fields of alloy, and its moons became control centers. From a distance, it still looked like Mars, quiet and lifeless. But beneath its surface, reactors the size of cities hummed with silent power. The workers, millions of humans and advanced machines, never spoke of what they were building. Their task was secret, their purpose sacred. Every man, woman, and child knew that one day, the galaxy would remember humanity, and when that day came, humans would not be weak or begging for peace. They would be ready. In the outer systems, humanity spread farther quietly. Hidden colonies formed in dark sectors, invisible to galactic sensors. They mined rare elements from neutron stars and gas giants. Artificial intelligences guarded their space, cutting down any foreign probe that came near. Many of the old nations of Earth had merged into one united force known as the Terran Assembly. There were no more borders, no more rivalries. Humanity had learned from its mistakes. Unity was their greatest weapon now. The Assembly's High Council met in orbit above Earth, in a massive ring structure called Haven Prime. From there, they watched as centuries of work slowly reshaped the human realm. Grand Chancellor Lyra Voss looked out at the blue planet through the observation window. She was old, not by body but by memory. Her mind carried decades of planning, loss, and determination. "Do you think they will ever look for us again?" asked one of the council members beside her. Lyra smiled faintly. "The galaxy doesn't remember ghosts," she said softly. "Let them sleep. While they sleep, we build." It was not an easy path. The silence came at a price. Without trade or communication, humanity had to rely only on its own strength. There were famines, resource shortages, and conflicts over leadership. But every time they fell, they rose again, stronger, smarter, more united. Centuries passed. Generations grew up without ever seeing an alien. Many began to think of the galaxy as a distant legend. They studied its history not with envy, but with quiet curiosity, like scholars studying the ruins of an ancient empire. But the scientists and military leaders remembered well. They trained new soldiers, new engineers, and new captains. They developed technology far beyond what the galaxy once shared with them. Their ships could move through folded space faster than light without leaving trails. Their weapons could rewrite gravity itself. Above all, they perfected their most secret creation, the Leviathan program. The Leviathans were not ships in the usual sense. They were entire worlds turned into warships, with populations living inside them, engines the size of mountains and weapons that could crack moons. Each Leviathan could survive alone for centuries, powered by its own miniature star. Only a handful of the highest-ranking officers even knew how many existed. Some said 3, others whispered of 20. The truth was known only to the High Council and the Admiral who would one day command them. One night, or what passed for night in the orbital rings, a quiet alarm echoed through the command center. A long-range telescope, one of thousands watching the galactic frontier, had picked up movement. An unknown object, faint, distant, and cold, had passed through the Perseus arm. It did not match any known ship type. It was vast, larger than any alien dreadnought, but it did not move like a vessel. It drifted slowly, feeding on energy from nearby stars. The technicians stared at the readings in silence. No one spoke. For the first time in centuries, something unknown had appeared. Grand Chancellor Lyra Voss looked at the data and whispered, "It's starting sooner than we thought." She turned to her communication officer. "Inform Admiral Kieran Holt. Activate Leviathan Command." Far from Earth, in a dark system with no name, Admiral Holt stood inside a massive hangar that stretched across the sky. Before him floated the largest creation of humankind, Leviathan Prime. Its surface shimmered with shifting armor plates. Its engines glowed faintly like the eyes of a sleeping giant. He had trained his entire life for this. To lead, to protect, to awaken humanity's power when the time came. He watched as construction drones moved around the ship like tiny fireflies, making last-minute adjustments. A voice spoke from behind him. It was an AI calm and deep. "All systems complete, Admiral. Leviathan Prime stands ready." Holt nodded slowly. "Then the silent years are ending," he said quietly. "The galaxy will wake soon. Let's make sure they wake to the right memory." And so, while the galaxy laughed, traded, and slept under its illusion of peace, humanity prepared in silence. While others built fleets of metal, humans built planets of power. While others forgot their allies, humans remembered everything. Deep in the cold of space, the engines of the Leviathans came to life, faintly glowing blue lines across their massive hulls. No one outside the human realm noticed the flicker of light in the dark, but those lights marked the beginning of a new age, the age when humanity would rise again. Not as wanderers or victims, but as the keepers of balance. They would not seek war, but they would not run from it either. They would not shout their power, but they would never hide it again. They would watch the stars, waiting for the moment when the galaxy finally woke up, and realized that while it slept, humanity had been building. For hundreds of years, the galaxy had floated in a quiet rhythm. Trade ships glided through space, empires argued in councils, and ancient alliances continued their endless politics. Most species believed the galaxy had reached peace, the kind of peace that could never be broken. But beneath that illusion, something invisible was moving. It began with whispers. At the far edges of the Orion Arm, strange reports started spreading among small traders. Whole moons vanished from their expected locations. Stars dimmed for hours, then returned to full brightness as if nothing had happened. Asteroid belts shifted positions overnight. Most dismissed these stories as sensor errors or pilot exaggerations. Space was vast and strange, and it played tricks on the mind. But a few captains swore what they saw was real. One spoke of a shadow that blocked out the stars, something so large his ship's scanners couldn't measure it. Another claimed to have recorded rhythmic pulses, like the heartbeat of a machine larger than any fleet. When these rumors reached the Galactic Council, the diplomats laughed. No one believed in space myths, but the few scientists who listened quietly began to wonder. Something was changing in the galaxy. Something powerful and hidden. They did not know it yet. But the whispers were about humanity's return. Far away beyond any galactic border, humanity was finishing its masterpiece. Inside the Sol system, the air shimmered with energy fields as engineers worked day and night. Mars, Titan, and Europa had become living factories. Earth's orbit glowed with construction rings and silver cables connecting massive engines. Each day, new components were added to the Leviathan fleet, humanity's greatest secret. The first Leviathan, Leviathan-Prime, had been completed decades ago. Now 4 more were nearing completion: Atlas, Hyperion, Erebus, and Nova. Each of these giant planet ships carried cities, industries, and entire defense systems within their armor. Their hulls were miles thick, made from an alloy created under pressures that only the cores of worlds could provide. These ships were not built for conquest. They were built for survival. The humans remembered the old wars too well. They remembered how alliances had failed them. They remembered the betrayal and silence that followed. And so, every part of the Leviathans was designed with one goal: to make sure humanity would never depend on anyone again. In the orbital station, Haven Prime, the Terran Assembly Council gathered. The wide chamber was built of black steel and transparent glass, showing Earth slowly spinning below. Admiral Kieran Holt stood in the center, tall and calm. His gray uniform carried no medals, for this meeting was not about pride. Around him sat the council, leaders, scientists, and strategists. Grand Chancellor Lyra Voss began. Our watchers have confirmed new movement in the galactic frontier. A disturbance in the Perseus arm, unknown origin. We believe it may not be natural. The room fell silent. Admiral Holt's eyes narrowed. Do we have visuals? Only fragments, said the science director. It's large and perhaps larger than any known superstructure. It consumes energy from nearby stars. We can't identify its source. Holt looked thoughtful. If it's what I think it is, the galaxy will soon realize how unprepared it truly is. The Chancellor nodded. The Council agrees. It's time to prepare the Leviathans for readiness. No one spoke against her. Every person in that room knew what that meant. After centuries of hiding, humanity was ready to wake up. Meanwhile, across alien space, the whispers continued to spread. In the Valorian Republic, officials received reports of trade convoys disappearing near uncharted regions. The Xintar Dominion claimed their patrols had detected gravitational distortions near the galactic edge. Even the proud Seraph Union, known for their advanced sensors, reported missing satellites. At first, the aliens blamed each other. Old rivalries returned. Accusations filled the council halls and threats were exchanged. The Galactic Council once again descended into arguments, just as humanity remembered from long ago. But there was one difference this time. In every system, near every border, faint readings appeared, strange metallic traces, unlike anything ever recorded. One Valorian scientist stared at the data for days before whispering to her assistant, "This isn't new technology. It's old. Ancient, maybe. But it's human." Her words were never heard again. Her research lab went silent 2 days later. Back in the Sol system, life was not peaceful either. Humanity's silence had created unity, but also tension. Billions of citizens now knew that something was coming. Something that would test everything they had built. People worked harder, studied longer, trained for emergencies. Every human child grew up learning not only about history, but about duty. There were songs about the old wars, sad, proud songs of courage and loss. Every time a Leviathan's engine was tested, the light could be seen from half a system away, and people stopped to watch it like a sunrise. They were proud but cautious. Humanity's power was a secret that could never be revealed too early. Admiral Holt knew this better than anyone. He stood on the bridge of Leviathan Prime, surrounded by silent officers. The ship's interior stretched for miles, corridors like city streets, control towers like skyscrapers. Artificial sunlight filtered through glass domes, keeping the environment alive. He placed his hand on the main console and said quietly, "Begin readiness check." A deep voice answered, not human but intelligent. It was the ship's core AI, Aralath. "All systems operational, Admiral. Energy reserves at 100%. Weapon arrays stable. Warp gates synchronized with secondary Leviathans." Holt nodded slowly. "Good, continue calibration." When the signal comes, we move. As the Admiral oversaw the preparations, a message came from Earth. It was Chancellor Voss herself. Her face appeared on the projection screen, calm but determined. "Admiral Holt," she said, "the Council has reviewed the data from our deep scanners. The object in the Perseus arm is growing in size. It's absorbing the energy of 3 stars. We believe it's alive." Holt remained silent for a long moment. His eyes reflected the lights of the holographic map. "Alive?" he repeated. "Yes," said Voss. "And if it keeps moving at this rate, it will reach the populated sectors within 50 years. The aliens don't understand what's coming, but we do." The Admiral exhaled slowly. "So it begins. We will continue preparations. Humanity will be ready when the galaxy calls for help." Voss nodded. "They will never see it coming until we appear above them." The transmission ended. Holt turned back to the window. In the distance, the surface of Leviathan Prime glowed faintly, reflecting Earth's sunlight like the armor of a sleeping god. Months passed. The unknown presence continued to move across the galaxy. Planets near the edge began losing power, their stars dimming one by one. The Galactic Council was in chaos. Fleets were sent to investigate, but few returned. The survivors spoke of darkness spreading through space, swallowing everything in silence. Panic began to grow. The powerful empires turned to fear. For the first time in centuries, they realized how fragile their peace truly was. And while they struggled, humanity watched. From the dark systems, human observation arrays recorded everything. Every fleet destroyed, every signal lost. Humanity's leaders remained calm. They knew that revealing themselves too soon would only cause confusion and fear. Instead, they waited for the right moment. The moment when the galaxy would have no choice but to look for salvation. In the quiet of his command deck, Admiral Holt walked alone, his footsteps echoing against the steel floor. He stopped before a large window that showed the Leviathan fleet slowly drifting in formation. "Aerolith," he said softly, "what does your analysis predict?" The AI's voice was smooth and deep. "If the pattern continues, the entity will reach the galactic core in 40 years. All known civilizations will fall without assistance." "And humanity?" Holt asked. "Humanity will endure," said Aerolith. "We have built what others could not. We are the storm's answer." The Admiral smiled faintly. "Then let the galaxy sleep a little longer. When it wakes, we will be there." In the outer darkness beyond the reach of any telescope, the Leviathans began to move. Slowly at first, like planets shifting their orbits, but steadily. Their engines glowed faintly blue, invisible to normal sensors. No alien ship noticed. No fleet detected the silent migration. But if someone had looked closely, they would have seen the stars flicker, just for a moment, as the giant shadows of humanity passed between them. The galaxy still believed humans were gone. The galaxy still believed it was safe. But in the silent corners of space, steel whispered, and humanity's secret creation awoke, patient, hidden, and ready for the day the stars would burn again. End of Part 2. The Whisper of Steel. The stars were never silent for long. For centuries, the galaxy had turned peacefully, its empires and alliances arguing, trading, and growing lazy in their comfort. But now something was moving beyond the edge of known space, and something older than the galaxy itself. It began as a faint vibration, a low hum across the deep void. Instruments from distant research outposts started picking up strange pulses. At first, scientists thought it was an echo, some natural wave caused by magnetic storms. But soon those signals grew stronger and sharper. They repeated like a heartbeat. One by one, observatories at the galactic edge went dark. Entire systems stopped responding. Ships sent to investigate never returned. When emergency beacons tried to transmit distress calls, all they sent was static and a cold, hollow silence. Then, the first images arrived. A patrol drone from the Valorian Republic transmitted grainy footage before it was destroyed. It showed a shape, vast, metallic, and blacker than space itself. It moved slowly, feeding on the light of a nearby sun. When the star dimmed, the shadow grew brighter. No one could understand what it was. It wasn't a ship nor an asteroid. It was alive, a mechanical organism older than recorded history. The name given to it came from the oldest archives of forgotten myths, the Devourers. The Galactic Council met in panic. Representatives from every major empire shouted across the chamber, Some claimed it was a weapon. Others said it was a natural phenomenon. A few whispered that it was punishment from the universe itself. The council's speaker tried to calm them. "There is no confirmed threat yet," he said. "Let us send a combined fleet to investigate." The motion passed, and within a month the largest fleet in recorded history was assembled. Hundreds of ships, dreadnoughts, carriers and cruisers from every nation gathered at the edge of the Orion arm. Their formation shone like a necklace of stars, but what they found waiting for them was not a mystery to study. It was a force to fear. When the fleet approached the dark region, their sensors went wild. Energy readings spiked beyond calculation. Communications failed. The void ahead shimmered like liquid metal. Then the darkness opened its eyes. Billions of small lights flickered inside the black mass. The thing that had consumed entire systems now revealed its true nature. It was not one creature, but a swarm of countless machines bound together, moving with a single will. They were ancient, efficient, and unstoppable. The fleet fired first. Thousands of beams of light struck the surface of the swarm, but it didn't even flinch. The beams bent, absorbed, and vanished. The Devourers answered with one silent wave of energy. Every ship in the front line vanished instantly. Their hulls melted into silver dust that floated away like smoke. The few survivors tried to retreat, but their engines failed as the Devourers fed on their power. In less than 10 minutes, the grand fleet of the Galactic Council was gone. The panic that followed was beyond anything the galaxy had seen. Empires blamed each other. Some tried to run. Others fortified their worlds, building shields and armies that would never be enough. The Galactic Council sent message after message begging for help from anyone, even from long-forgotten allies. But one corner of the galaxy stayed silent. That silence came from the human systems. On Earth, deep within Haven Prime, the Terran Assembly watched every moment unfold. The images of burning fleets and collapsing stars played across the great holoscreens. No one spoke. The humans had known this day would come. Maybe not soon, but someday. Admiral Kieran Holt stood before the council. His voice was calm, but his eyes were cold. The Devourers have awakened. The galaxy's peace has ended. Grand Chancellor Lyra Voss nodded. Our time of silence is over. The galaxy will need us, whether it admits it or not. A scientist turned to the Admiral. Do you believe the Leviathans are ready? Holt looked at the projection of the massive fleet. Planet-sized ships waiting in the dark. Ready? Yes, but once we move, there's no turning back. The galaxy will know we survived. They will see what we've built. The Chancellor replied. Then let them see. They called us forgotten, but now we will remind them who we are. Far from Earth, on the surface of Leviathan Prime, engines began to hum. Giant panels unfolded like wings, glowing with deep blue light. Power surged through its core, a miniature sun burning within its heart. All across the human realm, the other Leviathans did the same. Their movements were slow but powerful. From a distance, they looked like worlds awakening from sleep. Admiral Holt gave his first command. Activate all Leviathans. Prepare for jump formation. We move only when the signal comes, when the galaxy must see the darkness first. The officers obeyed without hesitation. Humanity had trained for this moment for centuries. There was no fear, only purpose. Meanwhile, across the galactic center, the Devourers continued to spread. Planet after planet fell. They consumed everything. Metal, energy, even the atmosphere of worlds. Nothing escaped their hunger. The proud Seraph Union, once the strongest military empire, tried to fight back with plasma cannons and gravity bombs. Their greatest fortress, the Citadel of Luria, lasted only 6 hours before it was devoured. The Valorian Republic sent a desperate message across the stars. If any ally still lives, please help us. The light of our worlds is dying. That message reached the edge of human space. It was intercepted, recorded, and silently played before the Terran Council. For a moment, no one spoke. Finally, Admiral Holt said softly, "They once turned their backs on us, but we will not do the same. Prepare the fleet. Humanity answers this call." When the Leviathans began to move, the void trembled. Each of the giant ships unfolded their energy fields, creating glowing blue halos that wrapped around them like clouds. The first to rise was Leviathan Prime, followed by Atlas, Hyperion, Erebus, and Nova. Their combined energy distorted space itself. From the outside, they appeared as stars being born, bright, silent, and massive. The fleet's artificial intelligence, Aerolith, spoke in its calm tone. Jump coordinates calculated. Target Devourer Invasion Front Valorian Sector. Admiral Holt looked at the holographic map. His hand hovered over the command console. Execute the jump, Space Bent. Time folded. The Leviathans vanished. In the Valorian sector, the skies above burning planets were filled with chaos. The Devourers were everywhere, black shapes crawling across the stars. The last surviving Valorian ships fired desperately, knowing it was hopeless. Then suddenly the darkness flashed white. The space around them cracked open, and 5 massive forms appeared. The Leviathans arrived like living worlds, their surfaces glowing with burning energy. The light from their engines swept across the debris fields, reflecting off the broken hulls of alien ships. The Valorians stared in shock. "What are those?" one captain whispered, and then a voice came across all frequencies and calm, deep, and unmistakably human. "This is Admiral Kieran Holt of the Terran Assembly. To all surviving fleets, fall behind us. You are not alone." For a heartbeat, the galaxy held its breath. Then humanity's guns spoke. The Leviathans opened fire. From their cores, beams of condensed plasma shot forth brighter than suns. The waves tore through the Devourers, vaporizing millions of them in seconds. Each beam left trails of glowing energy that painted the darkness with light. The Devourers tried to respond, but their attacks were useless. The Leviathan's shields absorbed the energy and sent it back tenfold. For the first time in galactic history, the Devourers retreated. The Valorian captains couldn't believe what they were seeing. The forgotten species, the humans, had returned, and they were mightier than any legend. Hours later, the battle ended. The Devourers withdrew beyond the system, leaving silence behind. The surviving Valorian ships drifted in awe, watching as the Leviathans slowly turned in formation. Admiral Holt sent one final message to every active channel in the galaxy. "To all civilizations, this is humanity. We have returned from the silence. The darkness you face will not end unless we stand together. Prepare your worlds. The real war begins now." Then the transmission ended. Across the galaxy, the message spread like fire. The species that everyone believed was gone had returned, and not as wanderers or refugees, but as saviors. In the halls of the Galactic Council, silence fell for the first time in ages. The speaker stood slowly and said the words no one ever expected to hear. "Humanity lives." And deep in the void beyond the stars, the Devourers stirred once more. Their ancient minds began to shift, sensing a new challenge, a new enemy unlike any before. For the first time they hesitated. For the first time they feared, because they understood now what the galaxy did not yet realize. Humanity had been silent, not because it was weak, but because it was preparing, and the era of silence was over. The galaxy had never forgotten fear. Not the fear of war, not the fear of collapse, but the fear of the unknown. For centuries, species had feared threats they could name: armies, fleets, superweapons. But now the galaxy faced something nameless, something ancient. The Devourers moved silently, consuming worlds, extinguishing stars and leaving nothing but cold void. Most species had tried to ignore it. They told themselves their fleets were enough. They told themselves they could survive. But now the truth was clear. No one could stop it. No one, except humanity. When the Leviathans arrived at the Valorian sector, the sight was breathtaking. From hundreds of kilometers away, the ships were visible as glowing giants, now not ships but living worlds of steel and light. Leviathan Prime led the formation, its surface glowing with soft blue fire. Atlas, Hyperion, Erebus, and Nova moved behind it, their immense forms cutting through space. They were silent, vast, and unshakable. The Devourers noticed them instantly. Where they had brought silence, humanity brought sound. The hum of engines so deep it felt like the heartbeat of the galaxy. Admiral Kieran Holt stood on the command deck of Leviathan Prime. Behind him, the holographic map of the battlefield glowed red and black. Worlds already lost, fleets scattered, energy fields dying. He did not speak to the council this time. Instead, he turned to the bridge crew. "Prepare the weapons. This is our first strike. The crew moved with quiet precision. Every man and woman knew their duty. For humanity, this was not just war. This was a declaration. Across the battlefield, the Devourers gathered. They moved like an endless tide, their massive hulls and countless tendrils forming an impossible wall. Their energy pulsed in waves, a dark light that swallowed everything near them. And then Leviathan Prime opened fire. The first shot was not a cannon blast, nor a missile. It was a beam, a stream of compressed energy that tore through space itself. The beam struck the Devourer swarm, cutting through countless machines like light through silk. The shockwave rolled outward, throwing the surrounding fleet into chaos. Atlas and Hyperion followed, their weapons fired in perfect sequence, beams of blue and gold light striking in harmony. The Devourers responded with an explosion of energy that lit up the void. But humanity did not falter. The galaxy watched in silence as the battle unfolded. From the bridge of a distant Valorian warship, a captain stared in awe. "They are worlds. They are living weapons," he said quietly. Another whispered, "It's the humans. They've returned." The voice spread across the fleet. Everywhere, alien crews stopped fighting for a moment to watch the Leviathans move. Ships that had once mocked humanity now held their breath. But Admiral Holt was not fighting for awe. He was fighting for survival. His voice was steady over comm channels. "We protect what remains. Fall in behind us. Humanity will lead this battle." One by one, alien ships followed. Fleets that had once been enemies now moved under humanity's shield. The fight lasted for hours. The Devourers were relentless. Their tendrils of energy struck at Leviathan hulls again and again. But every blow was met with a stronger counter. Leviathan Prime's armor adapted to the attacks. Atlas's weapons fired in a pattern designed to dismantle the Devourer swarm. Hyperion's shields spread energy to allies. Erebus and Nova cut corridors of light through the darkness, opening paths for retreating fleets. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. Entire sectors filled with fire and energy, with Leviathans at the center, a moving fortress, the beating heart of resistance, and humanity was not alone anymore. By the third hour of battle, hundreds of alien ships, Valorian, Seraph, Zintar, and others, had joined the Leviathan's formation. They fought together under humanity's banner. A new alliance was forming, not built from politics but forged in survival. But the battle was far from over. The Devourers shifted their tactics. They began to spread faster, sending swarms to flank the Leviathans. Energy storms erupted around the fleet, making communication impossible. The void became chaos. Admiral Holt moved to the main tactical platform. His voice was calm, but every word carried weight. "Araleth, initiate core resonance. All Leviathans, focus fire on the lead swarm cluster. Atlas and Hyperion shield the rear flank." The ship's AI replied in deep tones. Core resonance engaged. Weapons at maximum capacity. The Leviathan's cores glowed brighter, casting blue-white light across the battlefield. Then in unison, they unleashed a strike that no machine could survive. The blast tore through the Devourer formation, scattering its mass into a storm of fragments. The void roared as thousands of the swarm disintegrated. For the first time, the Devourers faltered. Admiral Holt saw the moment. He spoke into the comms. "Now, all ships in advance. Push them back." The Leviathans surged forward. Their massive engines burned with power drawn from planetary cores. The fleet followed, striking the swarm with a unified force. Slowly, painfully, the Devourers began to retreat. The battle continued through the hours, but one thing was clear. Humanity had turned the tide. The galaxy had been sleeping, but now it was waking. And the humans had returned not as wanderers but as warriors. When the Devourers finally withdrew, the battlefield was a ruin of broken ships and silent stars. Hundreds of fleets lay shattered. Planets burned in the distance, but humanity stood unbroken. Leviathan Prime rose above the wreckage like a guardian. Its surface shimmered with energy, and its voice carried across the fleet. "This is Admiral Kieran Holt of the Terran Assembly. The Devourers are retreating, but they will return. The galaxy will need us. Humanity stands ready." For a moment, no one spoke. Then slowly, alien captains began sending messages of thanks. Others sent requests to join the Terran Assembly. Across the battlefield, hope began to spread. The war was far from over. But for the first time in centuries, the galaxy had a reason to believe they could survive. Back on Leviathan Prime, Admiral Holt stood alone on the bridge. Below him, the remains of the Devourer swarm drifted in silence. He placed his hand against the glass and looked into the stars. Grand Chancellor Voss's voice came through the comms. "Admiral, the Council has declared humanity's return. They are calling for a meeting." Holt nodded. "Tell them this is not the end. It is the beginning. Humanity will not hide again." In the distance, the other Leviathans moved in formation. Their engines pulsed softly, a living heartbeat. Somewhere in the void, a new light was rising. The galaxy that had forgotten humanity now knew the truth. Humanity was no longer hidden. Humanity was awake, and somewhere deep in the darkness the Devourers moved again. Their vast minds stirred, sensing a new power in the galaxy, something they had not faced before, something dangerous. The silence of space was broken. The war was beginning. The galaxy had changed forever. When humanity revealed itself, it was not as a lone species returning to forgotten glory. It was as a force born from centuries of preparation, a living wall against annihilation. The Devourers had been pushed back, but they were not defeated. They were still out there, silent, patient, and hungry. The battle in the Valorian sector was only the beginning. Humanity knew that the war ahead would be long, but they also knew they could not fight alone. For the first time in centuries, humans reached out, not for conquest, but for alliance. The Terran Assembly sent envoys across the galaxy. Messages went to every surviving fleet, every council, every free world. Humanity offered strength, guidance, and the protection of the Leviathans. They asked for unity. The galaxy answered. From the shattered fleets of the Valorian Republic to the hidden ships of the Seraph Union, alien captains began to gather under humanity's banner. Old enemies laid aside ancient grudges. Rival empires formed councils of war. The galaxy became a single fighting force, united for the first time in its history. At the center of it all stood humanity, not as conquerors, but as guardians. Admiral Kieran Holt stood once more on the bridge of Leviathan Prime. Below him, the combined fleet prepared to move. Thousands of warships from dozens of species glowed in the cold light of space. They had one goal: to find the heart of the Devourer threat and destroy it. Holt's voice was steady. "We have one chance. We will bring this war to their door. Every fleet in this alliance must be ready to fight together. This is our moment. For the galaxy, and for humanity." His words spread instantly through the fleet's communication channels. Hope filled every ship. Even the smallest freighter felt the weight of what was about to happen. This was not a fight for survival alone. This was the birth of something new, a united galaxy. The Leviathans led the fleet into deep space, following the trail of destruction left by the Devourers. The closer they moved to the unknown edge of the galaxy, the darker space became. Stars vanished behind fields of black energy. Gravity shifted without warning. Time seemed to slow. It was there in the depths of darkness that they found it, a vast structure, larger than any planet, shaped like a dark cathedral of steel and light. The Devourer's heart. It pulsed with energy that seemed alive, sending ripples through space. From it extended endless tendrils of metal and shadow, stretching into the void like fingers reaching for prey. Admiral Holt looked at the image projected before him. "This is it. This is what we have been preparing for." The battle began without warning. The Devourers sensed the Leviathan fleet and responded instantly. Tendrils of shadow moved with unnatural speed, striking fleets before they could react. Energy storms erupted, swallowing ships whole. But humanity did not retreat. Leviathan Prime led the charge, its massive shields opening like petals of light. Atlas, Hyperion, Erebus, and Nova followed in perfect formation, their weapons blazing with power drawn from entire planetary cores. The fleet surged forward, alien ships following humanity's lead. Together they struck the Devourer heart. The explosions were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Beams of pure energy tore through shadowed tendrils. Fleets crashed into the enemy like a wave of living steel. For hours the battle raged, until the Devourers began to falter. Admiral Holt knew the moment of truth had come. He stepped onto the bridge and spoke to every fleet in the Alliance. This is the end of their hunger. Now is the time to end this war. Aerolith, the AI of Leviathan Prime, confirmed. Targeting core resonance. Weapon systems at maximum, all Leviathans ready. Holt's hand moved over the command console. Fire. The Leviathans unleashed their final attack. It was not just a beam, not just a wave of energy. It was a strike born of centuries of human will. Their cores opened fully, releasing the stored energy of planets, moons, and stars. The Devourer heart roared in response, a sound that echoed through space. Tendrils writhed and collapsed. The black structure cracked and broke, shining with light before it exploded in a wave of pure force. The darkness receded. The Devourers were gone. When the light faded, silence returned to the galaxy. The fleets drifted among the ruins of battle. Stars shone again where the Devourer's shadow had been. Survivors began to speak, quietly at first, then in voices loud enough to carry across space. The war was over. Admiral Holt stood before his crews, his voice calm but filled with purpose. This was not only a battle. This was the birth of a new galaxy. Humanity has returned, and we stand for every world that breathes light in the darkness. From the far reaches of the fleet, voices answered him in every language. For the first time, the galaxy felt united. The Terran Assembly called a great council after the war. Representatives of every species gathered on Leviathan Prime. There, above a battlefield that would be remembered forever, humanity offered peace and protection. Chancellor Lyra Voss spoke before the council. We did not build the Leviathans to conquer. We built them to protect. The galaxy has faced its greatest darkness, and together we have won. Let this be the dawn of a new alliance, a galaxy united in strength, peace, and hope. The council agreed. The new alliance was formed. The Galactic Defense Pact. Humanity was given leadership not by force but by the will of those who had fought beside them. For humanity, this was more than victory. It was redemption. On the surface of Leviathan Prime, Admiral Holt looked out into space. He saw fleets returning to their home worlds, carrying the story of humanity's return. He saw the stars shining again after centuries of shadow. He spoke softly to himself. While the galaxy slept, we built our strength, and now we have woken for its defense. Somewhere in the deep void beyond the reach of even the greatest sensors, a faint pulse remained, not of destruction, but of warning. The Devourers were gone, for now, but they would return. And when they did, humanity would be ready. The galaxy had learned something important that day. It had learned that silence was not weakness. It had learned that a species could disappear for centuries and return stronger than ever. Humanity had returned not to take, but to guard. Not to destroy, but to protect. The Leviathans became the guardians of the galaxy. The Terran Assembly became the voice of unity. And the stars, once silent, now shone with a promise that no matter how deep the darkness, there would always be light. A new dawn had come, and humanity stood at the center of it.